Mr. Kong. I'm the host of this podcast. Today we will be talking about the issue of petroleum and how it has been detrimental to the aviation industry, the environment, and how biofuels are a great alternative to petroleum. We have Fatima, an environmental specialist, talk to us about the effects of petroleum on the environment, our daily lives, and transportation. First off, Fatima, what is petroleum and how does it affect our lives?
Petroleum is a form of fossil fuel that is widely used throughout the world. It is widely used for transportation in forms of gasoline, jet fuel, and aviation gasoline. Almost every American's life is dependent on the use of gasoline. Because gasoline consists of petroleum, all cars that operate on gas depend on petroleum. The main type of transportation in the U.S. is automobiles. In the year 2000, there are 220 million cars in the United States. Air transportation is also heavily dependent on petroleum. Because all commercial planes use either jet fuel or aviation gasoline. In the year 2000, 2 million passengers and millions of cargo and packages take off from American airports every single day. It is clear that an American's life strongly relies on the existence and consumption of petroleum.
It is consistently shown that petroleum has its benefits, but what are some of the consequences of petroleum on us and the environment?
Yes, that is true. Because of petroleum, there are oil spills, global warming, extraction, ocean acidification, and tar balls. These all end up affecting the biosphere, implicating the death of many animals in the wild and in water.
So instead of using petroleum, what can we use for our airplanes and automobiles?
Instead, we can use biofuel. It is made of natural oils found in plants, such as oil palm, soybean, or corn. These can be ignited in an engine to act as a fuel source. They can be separated into 3 categories. The first generation, or conventional, biofuels are made from largely edible sugars, starches, and plant oils. The second generation biofuels are made from non-edible cellulosic plant materials. And finally, the third generation biofuels produced by algae and other microbes.
I know that there are currently many scientists pushing to get rid of petroleum and use other sources of fuel such as biofuel. The question is, why do we need to get rid of petroleum?
We need to get rid of petroleum because it is not eco-friendly and it is not renewable. Although there is a counter-argument. First, it's true that the divestment movement is predicted on a moral argument. Second, it is true that those who call for divestment rely on fossil fuels in their own lives. Third, it's often argued that the divestment simply won't work because today's consumers will continue to demand fossil fuels.
Petroleum is used widely in the aviation industry. Why is that? Why is petroleum so important to the aviation industry, and what are the impacts of getting rid of petroleum?
Petroleum is a major part of the aviation industry because it fuels the aircraft, and without petroleum, many aircraft will be unable to operate. The problem is that petroleum has a negative impact on the environment since it produces carbon emissions once it is used. Carbon emissions are becoming more and more of a problem since the levels are increasing drastically over the past years. Ever since the start of the industrial age, carbon emissions have risen from 280 ppm to about 330 ppm, which is a significant change. By eliminating petroleum and replacing it with biofuel, we hope that the growth of carbon emissions levels will decrease.
How will biofuels affect the environment? Will it decrease pollution?
Biofuels do not have that much carbon and gas emissions, so it would decrease pollution and slow down the global warming process. Studies suggest that biofuels reduce greenhouse gases up to 65%, and this was done from Conserve Energy Future.
Thank you, Fatima. We now have Deborah, who is an economist, and will tell us about the economical parts of using biofuels. So, Deborah, how will biofuels affect tickets and pricing for airlines? Will it decrease ticket pricing?
Ethanol is a lot more costly to create than petroleum. Therefore, with only using biofuels, the cost of tickets would increase because the pricing of the fuel would increase.
What will happen economically if we stop buying oil and fuels from other countries like Saudi Arabia and Iraq?
Obviously, countries whose economies depend on the exploration of oil and fuels will have a decrease in their economy. However, if countries like Saudi Arabia and Iraq do make biofuels to sell to other countries and companies, then their economy will not suffer because instead of their economy being based off oil or fuel, it will be based off biofuel. Currently, Iraq's prime minister has approved a project by a United Arab Emirates-based company to make biofuel. So if they do make biofuel and other people use them like they currently do with oil, their economy will not drop at all.
What do you think it will be like in the future without biofuel?
Biofuel will would revolutionize the transportation industry. Pollution would definitely be decreased because of the excess carbon dioxide, which makes up most of the pollution.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to our show. And thank you, Fatima and Deborah, for taking time out of your day and being on this show.